Before we get into today's story, make sure to hit that like button on this video so we can keep bringing you more. Subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment below to share your thoughts or your own experiences. Your support is what keeps these stories coming. Last year, I started law school in Los Angeles. I had never lived in a big city before, and I was thrilled to be in a place with over 4 million people. Ever since I was little, I knew I had a half-sister in Los Angeles, but my parents always carried this strange anger toward her. Talking about her felt almost like a forbidden subject. Of course, I looked her up on social media. I knew what she looked like, but not much else. We had never met, and she wasn't very active online, so there wasn't a lot to see. One day, during my first year of law school, I got a friend request on Facebook from her. The profile seemed legitimate. She had friends, her photos looked real, and it all matched what I knew. She sent me a message inviting me to a small dinner party at a park with her friends. It would be our chance to finally meet face to face. I was new to LA, still trying to figure out which areas were safe at night. I was excited, but also incredibly anxious. Maybe we'd meet, click instantly, and become close. Or maybe it would be awkward. What if she didn't like me? What if we argued or ended up crying in front of everyone? Honestly, if she had invited me to a cozy bakery for dessert, I would have gone without hesitation. But meeting in a park, surrounded by strangers, didn't feel right. It seemed too important of a moment to share with an audience. In the end, I couldn't bring myself to go. The thought of breaking down in front of people was too overwhelming. Weeks later, curiosity got the better of me. I Googled that park, thinking maybe we could meet there one-on-one instead. That's when I realized something was seriously wrong. I won't say the park's name, but anyone who's lived in LA long enough knows it's not safe, especially for girls at night. The area has one of the highest violent crime rates in the city. It's gang-controlled. Even people running shady businesses there have to pay a tax to avoid trouble. Suddenly, my excitement turned into fear. I tried reaching out to my sister directly. She was an undergrad at a local college, so I asked a friend who also studied there to help me get in touch. Eventually, the three of us met at my friend's house. It was amazing. We connected instantly, shared stories, had dinner, watched a movie, and stayed up late laughing. There were a few tears, but they were happy ones. When I told my sister about the Facebook account, her face went pale. She hadn't used Facebook since high school. Someone had been impersonating her. By the time I checked, the fake profile was already deleted. She told me this wasn't the first time it had happened. One of her friends had been scammed by a similar account selling fake concert tickets. That meant someone knew I was new in town. Someone pretended to be my sister. Someone tried to lure me into one of the most dangerous parts of Los Angeles at night. I still don't know what their intentions were, and I'm not sure I ever want to find out. Meeting my sister after all these years was one of the happiest moments of my life, but the thought that someone was waiting for me in that park, hiding behind her face, still haunts me. Back in 2013, I lived in Providence, Rhode Island. I had just moved there for a new job and was living in a quaint, spacious townhouse with my 4-year-old daughter. We were new to the area and didn't know many people, but we had grown friendly with the kind older gentleman who lived next door. For the purpose of this story, I'll call him Ben. Ben lived in the connected townhouse right beside ours. Our street looked lovely, lined with floral trees and quiet charm. But Providence has this strange way of changing block by block. One street would feel safe and welcoming, while the next could be rough and unsettling. We were near some tough neighborhoods, but overall, I felt relatively safe in our home. A few nights before the incident, I came across a Facebook post with a safety tip. Keep your car keys by your bed at night so that if someone ever breaks in, you can hit the panic button and scare them off. I almost never followed those safety hacks online, but for some reason, I decided to do it that night. That evening, I put my daughter to bed and stayed up reading in my room on the second floor. After a while, I turned off the light and drifted off to sleep. Not long after, I was jolted awake by what felt like an earthquake. The whole room shook, and a loud thud echoed through the house. Heart pounding, I sat up and listened. My first thought was my daughter. I rushed to her room and flung the door open, only to find her sleeping peacefully, untouched. Then came another loud bang, closer this time. The air felt wrong. My skin prickled. Something was happening, but I couldn't place it. I grabbed my car keys, crept downstairs, and decided that if I heard one more noise, I would press the alarm. But after that, everything went silent. Eventually, I forced myself back to bed, though it took me a long time to fall asleep. The next day started like any other. That afternoon, I noticed several missed calls from a friend. When I finally reached him, his voice was urgent. "Did you hear what happened? The news crews were mobbing your street earlier. They were even in your driveway." I froze. "What are you talking about?" He paused before saying, "3 men broke into your neighbor's house last night. They tied him up at gunpoint, stole thousands of dollars worth of things, and took off with his car." My knees buckled. I dropped to the floor and sobbed. I had heard it. I had felt it. And I almost pressed the panic button, but I didn't. That evening, a friend came over to stay with us because I couldn't stop shaking. The next day, I finally spoke with Ben. He told me everything. The men had smashed a basement window and slipped inside. Based on the timeline, they had seen my bedroom light and waited until it went out before making their move. They hadn't realized Ben was still home. He had gone to bed early. One of the intruders made it upstairs and began rummaging through his room, the room that shared a wall with my closet. The vibrations and thuds I heard were the moments Ben was attacked. The intruder had knocked him down, covered his mouth, and threatened to kill him if he made a sound. That's why the house went quiet while I was creeping through the dark downstairs. They tied him up and left him restrained for over 12 hours before he finally broke free and called the police. When I apologized for not realizing sooner, Ben just shook his head and said, "While I was tied up, all I could think about was how thankful I was that it wasn't happening to you and your little girl." His words crushed me. The guilt stayed with me for a long time. The men were never caught. Afterwards, I bought a taser, illegal or not, and some mace. For the first time in my life, I even considered buying a gun. Thankfully, I haven't gone through anything like that since. I pray I never will. Ben survived, and in the end, that's what matters. But I'll never forget that night. The noises, the silence, and the terrifying truth that danger was just one wall away. This happened fairly recently. I was trying to catch a train to the city for a night out with friends. Unfortunately, the trains weren't running to the city center that day, so they had a replacement bus service instead. I started wandering through the station, trying to figure out where they had hidden the buses. Eventually, I thought I was on the right track, walking down a long corridor, when I suddenly heard running footsteps coming up behind me. I turned around to see a man sprint to a stop right next to me. He immediately asked if I knew where the replacement buses were. I told him I was just as lost as he was, hoping that would end the interaction. But instead, he decided to walk alongside me. Fair enough, I thought. Maybe he just figured we'd find it faster together. Still, Something in my gut told me I should have ducked into the bathroom or found another way around. The corridor did lead to the buses. The driver was standing outside the doors and told us we had plenty of time since we were the first to arrive. He opened the doors and the bus was completely empty. I chose a random seat in the middle and slid against the window, ready to put my headphones on. But out of every empty seat on that bus, this man chose to sit right next to me, trapping me against the window. I brushed it off as strange but harmless. Then he asked why I was going to the city. I told him I was meeting friends for a girls' night out, then very obviously put my headphones on, scrolling for a song. He leaned closer and said, "I could join you." I quickly replied, "It's girls only and I don't really know you." He smirked. "We could get to know each other. I'll buy you a drink." I shook my head. "No thanks, I just want to see my friends tonight." By now, the bus had started moving and more passengers were boarding, but he didn't stop. He kept firing questions at me, which I ignored or shut down with short answers. I told him more than once, "I just want to listen to my music now." That's when he crossed the line. He started complimenting my body, whispering that I was beautiful, repeating over and over, "I really like you." Then, "I love you." I kept saying, "Leave me alone," while shrinking as far into the window as I could. He leaned in closer, lips puckered, making kissing noises. My heart was racing. The bus was still far from the city center, and I felt completely trapped. And then, my hero intervened. A man about my age, sitting a few seats back, stood up and said firmly, "Excuse me, she's asked you multiple times to leave her alone." Through clenched teeth, the creep spat back, "Fuck off." "You need to move away from her," my hero continued, calm but sharp. "You're clearly bothering her." The creep growled, "Mind your business, we're fine." Then my hero looked at me. "Do you want him to move?" Pinned against the window and scared, I managed to say, "Yeah." The creep jumped up, storming toward him. "Do you want to fight? Right now?" My hero stood his ground. "Nah, I'd rather you control yourself and leave her alone." The creep was shaking with anger, ready to swing, when the bus driver shouted back, "Is there a problem? Do I need to kick someone off this bus?" The creep froze, muttered "no," and slunk a few rows back, glaring but finally leaving me alone. I mouthed several thank yous to my hero, who just smiled as if it was nothing. When the bus reached the city, the creep tried to follow me off, but thankfully my friends were waiting. The moment he saw them, he turned and walked away. I was shaken, but incredibly grateful that someone had stepped in when they did. If my hero hadn't spoken up, I don't know how much worse it could have gotten.
Thanks for sticking around till the end. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to give the video a like and leave a comment with your thoughts. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a terrifying tale. See you in the next one.